Okay, this is one of my favorite things to do around the holidays. Now, Thanksgiving has just come and gone, but it's the perfect thing to keep in mind for Christmas because it is what I like to call the gift that keeps on giving. As you can see, come on a little closer, these are frozen and individually wrapped homemade turkey stock cubes. Now, if you like soup, if you make stocks or broth, if you make risotto or gravies or sauces during the course of the year, at any time, these are liquid gold. This is a starter for any base of any one of those things. So we're going to start from the very beginning and I'm going to talk you through it. It's really simple and you're going to love it. You're going to start with a really big pot. Isn't this pot great? This is called a Guardian pot from the 40s. It was an engagement gift from my mother's wedding in 1947. What makes them really rare is that getting them intact with their glass tops is pretty much unheard of. It's huge, so it's perfect for this project. So we need the carcass. This has so much meat on it, so much flavor, so many nutrients that it's ridiculous to throw it away. This is the chest of the bird. I'm just going to put it right in the pot and the backside of the bird. I've cut them in half just so they fit in there. I'm also going to put in a couple of pieces of, the things that people never eat on Thanksgiving, like the wings or the legs. But these are just some other shavings that came off that have bone and meat. And they're going to just make everything that much more flavorful. So what I'm going to add now to the carcass is what we call the Holy Trinity. Some carrot, some onion, and some celery, what you would put in any stock. I'm also going to cut a half an onion. I rinse these because obviously they come out of the ground, but you don't need to skin them because you're going to get rid of all that. And frankly, the brown of the skin makes the color of the stock even richer. So I'm just going to put twice as many of those in. 4 celery stalks. I like to add about, a dozen or 2 dozen peppercorns. So on top of all of that is the last ingredient. We're just going to fill it with fresh cold water. There we go. Just want to cover that. We're going to cover that. Turn on your gas to high. Get it to boil. Once it boils, we're going to bring it down to a simmer. And we're going to simmer it for several hours until we start to see that stock go down. That's your first step. Go do something else. Now that condensation tells me we got a good boil going. All these things that are sticking out, as this all boils down, they'll all start to sink in there, you'll see, so don't worry about that. But now that you've got that boil, this is your time to go down to medium till it comes to a simmer. As you can see, this is reduced by about 1/3. This has been on the stove for about 5 hours, which is about enough time to, I think, get all you want to get out of the bones, the meat, the veggies. Now it's time to strain all of that out. We can dump it and just reduce the liquid. I'm going to let this go for another hour or 2 and it'll thicken, and then once it cools, we'll move on to the next step of the process. If you revisit this every half hour or so, you can see how easy it is to skim off some of the fat. Okay, this simmered for 3 hours, and then it rested for about another hour just so that I could get that final skim of fat off the top. I'm going to put this into smaller containers to make it easier to manage. Oh, there's that liquid gold I was talking about. I use 2 different methods to preserve the cubes. I'm going to show you both of them. The first and easiest way is to just take a ice cube tray and fill it up. We'll pop that right into the freezer, and then once it's all frozen, we'll put them in bags to preserve them. The second option, which I like, is I have an 8-inch pie tin that is Teflon.
I like to fill this because I cut it into 9s. It gives me a thicker cube. I'm going to wrap these individually after they firm up in the fridge.
In a couple of hours, the broth in the ice cube trays will be frozen and the broth in the pan in the refrigerator will firm up. Oh, see? That looks great. Nice and firm. Now, with the cubes in the tray, probably the best thing to do is just take a paring knife and give it a little loosening. You see it pops right out. Look at that perfect little golden nugget. Oh, I'm so delighted. And I'm just going to cut it into 9 equal squares. Look, these come out like a little perfect little brownie. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? It's like a little caramel square in a frozen little package of deliciousness. So as you can see, my little frozen cubes of liquid gold are all packed away in their Ziploc bag. If you just want to add a little bit of flavor to your soup or your risotto or your gravy or your sauce, maybe 1 or 2 little cubes will do it. If you're working on a larger project, then I would recommend a bigger piece. These I love. If you're not feeling well and you want to throw one in a hot cup of water, it's like having mom make soup for you, or better yet, your grandmother. So the next time you're faced with one of those carcasses after Thanksgiving or Christmas and you wonder, what would Michael do? This is what Michael would do. You should try it. It's delicious, I promise you. The gift that keeps on giving. It'll last all year long.